Hello, Darren Jacklin. How are you?
I am fantastic. Good to see you today.
It's good to have the mega manifester in front of me and discuss today how we can manifest and attract our dreams. You have some practices and some actions that we can take in our own life. You're mainly a corporate coach, but today you're going to really tell us precisely how what we can do to manifest those, and we're going to talk about the law of attraction. So tell us about it all. How does this work?
For sure, I want to teach your listeners around the world today specific and measurable action steps. The first thing to do is a lot of people want to change their life. You hear that a lot in workshops and seminars that they'll say, I want to change my life. How you change your life is by changing the waking hours of your day. Changing the waking hours of your day. The key thing is change the waking hours of your day. So from the time you wake up in the morning until the time you go to bed at night, what do you consistently do? Now, for most people, they're an extra in their own movie, and most people are unconscious. So the key thing is to be aware of when you first wake up in the morning, what do? Do you listen to an alarm clock? Do you go onto the internet and check your email? Do you get your kids off to school? Do you make your lunch? Do you go off to work? What are the action steps you do? You jump in the shower? Do you do your hair? Do you do makeup? Do you shave? And then what are you surrounded by? Do you read? Do you meditate? Do you pray? Do you do yoga? So I'm going to give you some specific action steps that I do and how I was coined the Mega Manifestor. The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I do an exercise called the attitude of gratitude. And I come up with a list either in my head or in my journal on paper, or I say it out loud in the shower. Every day is different, but I have a routine, but how I do that routine is different because I travel a lot.
Uh-huh.
So
So,
what
but
I
it's
do
very, what
is,
you're saying is that it's very important when we wake up to take those actions right away and not wait. The sooner we
absolutely.
can do it, the better.
And the reason why is because our brain has two primary functions in life, protection and survival. Our brain's job is to protect us and keep us safe. So it's just a function of the human brain where it wants to do what's safe, what's comfortable, what's familiar, what's easy. So we want to push onwards in regards to breaking that pattern, that habit, to do an attitude of gratitude exercise where we feel that we're grateful for everything around us in our life each day. And the more that we feel grateful towards things, the more that we open up. And so you're grateful that you can breathe, you're grateful that you can see with your eyes, you're grateful that you can read, you're grateful that you can write, you're grateful that you can eat with your hands. And that's the first exercise I do in the morning. The second exercise I do, and by the way, these are non-negotiable. I do these consistently, non-negotiably. And that's where sometimes in your life you got to get to is make it non-negotiable. If you talk to a professional athlete, him or her, they make it non-negotiable. They have to work out 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week, consistently non-negotiable. So step number one is an attitude of gratitude. Number two is I use what they call virtualization, not visualization. I'm a highly visual learner, but virtualization is what Olympic athletes use and space astronauts use. I've had a chance to work with space astronauts and Olympic athletes from around the world, and virtualization is not commonly known around the world to the mainstream of people. But the virtualization is what we use the 5 senses. So you smell it, you see it, you can hear it, you can taste it, you can touch it. So you're using the auditory, the visual, and the kinesthetic. So if somebody, for example, wanted to find a dream job or career or business, well, they're awake in the morning, they're laying in bed, or they're in the shower, they're doing their hair or their makeup, or getting their kids off to school, they're feeling in their body what it's like to have that ideal job. Maybe they want to be a bank manager of a financial services company. So they're feeling in their body what it's like to be the branch manager of that financial services company. They're walking in. They're in that mindset of already in their mind believing it. So, for example, if I wanted to become an Olympic athlete, I'll give you an example. I coached and mentored an Olympic athlete in Canada. And every morning when she would wake up, she would virtualize in her physical body that she was standing on the Olympic podium at the gold medal position. She would feel in her body that the Olympic medal is going around her neck, and she would kinesthetically feel the weight of that gold medal touching her body. Hearing, she would hear the national anthem of her country being played in the background, and she would look visually straight in front of her, which was a wall, and what she would visualize in her mind was the inside of the stadium. People stand on their feet, cheering, screaming, waving her country flag, yelling, taking pictures, and her being viewed by billions of people all over the world through television and through the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And
So that she would do that in the morning. I mean, because there is one you do that all day long. I mean, you
Mhm.
basically walk in those shoes, or do you her in her case the final result? She was sitting when she was waking up. She would take 10-15 minutes doing that.
Your first hour of the day is the most critical. If you look at high-level achieving men and women corporate executives in corporate America, corporate Canada, organizations around the world, which I've been very blessed to work with, these people have a systemized routine that they do every day. It's called the hour of power.
Mm.
And it's that mindset that they focus the first hour of their day with no distractions. Now, sometimes you're going to have children, or you're going to have sirens, or you're going to have an unexpected telephone call come in, or a spouse or a partner that needs you for something. And that's understandable. That's human nature, human behavior. But you want to minimize the amount of distractions you have and focus the first hour of your day is what are you mentally focused on? It's a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And so with the Olympic athlete, for example, she virtualized in her body the medals going around her neck, hearing the national anthem, and seeing the audience of the crowd of people waving and cheering.
Yeah.
And then she felt what it was like to stand on that Olympic podium,
Yeah.
receiving the Olympic medal.
But
And she conditioned her body.
Yeah, but without getting off track on the practices, I mean, how you don't get obsessed by this, because a lot of people get obsessed about their goals and intention, and then something shifts there, no?
Well, for sure, absolutely. I'll give you an example. In 2007, I was doing a public event one day in Canada, and I had a small group of people, about 103 people in a room, and they were talking about the movie The Secret that came out a few years ago. And it was a world phenomenal movie. It was on Oprah and Larry King and all those shows. And some of the people in the movie are friends of mine. And the thing is that some people were thinking it was hokey and fluffy and debunking it. And it's repackaged self-help material. And one of the interesting things is I shared it to people. I said, listen, I'm going to show you this stuff is not hokey and fluffy. I said, in fact, let's make it specific and measurable. Mm-hmm. So I made an outrageous claim that I said within 365 days, because it's specific and measurable, I'm going to manifest a multi-million-dollar mansion somewhere on planet Earth.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that one.
Yeah, I was all over the media, all over the world, and all over the internet. I had people go like this saying, what the heck is this? Like, are we drinking Kool-Aid here or what? And it was really funny because I had a lot of skeptical people. But every day that I'd wake up in the year 2007, I would virtualize in my body laying in a mansion. I would visualize walking in, doing dinner parties, doing humanitarian stuff, doing charity fundraising events, doing live workshops and seminars, doing movie nights. And I got into my body the experience of what it would feel like acting as if it already happened. Mm-hmm. And I would walk around. Now, it took 9.5 months to manifest a $6 million mansion in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Mm. And I lived in it for free for 10 months. It was a 14,000 square foot mansion on 53 private acres. Now, here's the interesting thing is, mm-hmm. the mansion was owned by a family in Asia who had multiple homes around the world. Mm-hmm. And this one mansion that was 15 years old was only slept in 5 nights in 15 years. It was a weekend getaway home. And so when people want to manifest things or experience the law of attraction, the mind goes to, well, how am I going to manifest more money? How am I going to manifest a dream relationship? How am I going to manifest a trip or a career or a job or some real estate business deal? But the thing is, it's not about focusing on the how. All you got to do is follow the consistent daily disciplines. I'll give you another example. What I do every morning to manifest things is I make it non-negotiable that I must read a minimum of 10 pages a day of a good book. Mm-hmm. Because 10 pages a day is 1 book a month, which is 12 books a year. Because if you look at the New York Times best-selling books, the average book is between 200 to 300 pages. So if you just consistently read 10 pages a day, that's 1 book a month, that's 12 books a year. So let's say, for example, your listeners want to get into real estate investing, as an example. And they want to start buying foreclosed properties, or they want to get into real estate investment purposes for cash flow purposes, or whatever they want to do, financial independence, real estate. Yeah. If they went onto the internet or to their local bookstore and researched the top 12 best-selling books in the last 12 to 24 months, and they just wrote down the names and titles of those books and the authors of those books and just consistently read 10 pages a day, within 12 months they'll have read 12 best-selling books. Because how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And what happens is, in our cultures, in our society today, we want what we call instant gratification. And what you want to do is actually work for what we call delayed gratification. What I mean by that is, delayed gratification is that you want it right now. You want that dream job. You want the money. You want the relationship. but you've got to allow it time like a farmer allows his or her field of the crops to nurture. Now, here's another important principle and tip. When you're setting the mindset and you're virtualizing your body and you're setting the intention, what happens is what we call invisible results. And the invisible results, compounded over time, eventually become visible results. But because we have an impatient culture in society where we flick on the light switch and we see the light come on, or we turn on our laptop or desktop computer, it powers up right now or powers down, we want the instant gratification. We've got to be patient within ourselves and allow ourselves to trust the process, that the invisible results will become visible results. I just knew intuitively that if I consistently did the action steps, that sometime down the road, I would manifest a multi-million-dollar mansion somewhere on planet Earth. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't know I was going to win the lottery or get a windfall of an inheritance or do some kind of joint venture business deal that will pay me a lot of money or sign some kind of contract. I had no idea. All I did was did the action steps consistently. Now, there will be days that you'll wake up and you'll be tired, you'll be distracted, you won't be inspired or motivated, and you won't feel like doing the action steps. And that's why you have to have a coach or a mentor or a partner, someone who's not emotionally attached to you to help you. But you've got to push yourself and really make it non-negotiable. You've got to expect and demand more of yourself than anybody else can demand and expect of you. And in the early 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, it's uncomfortable doing this. But you do the uncomfortable until it becomes comfortable.
Yeah, because I have a bit of a challenge with the word push, because part of who we are and all this, allowing this is in there is that we're all vibrationally, I mean, we vibrate at the same level than what we want to attract. So if we push, it seems like there is this obsession or this push that blocks this energy to just allow it to manifest itself in this reality. So, you know, you're very strong when you talk about, you know, you're very powerful, you're very animated, you're very strong when you talk about it. So, you know, but where shall we be that passionate about making it happen, or that's going to hold it? That's going to hold it back.
Well, you want to be passionate about, but you've also got to take massive, consistent action. And that's the key thing, is that knowledge is not power. We're taught in colleges and universities and public and private education that knowledge is power. That's not true. Knowledge is only potential power. What gives you and I true power is taking consistent action. And so what happens is people will go to a seminar, or go to a workshop, or read a book, and they'll apply the principles or strategies for a couple days or a couple weeks, and then they drop off, and they go get a different seminar, different workshop, different book. What you want to do is you want to follow the fundamental principles. Like if you study Olympic athletes, or study a high-level, study a billionaire or a multi-millionaire, if you want to learn more about money, right? Then you watch what they do, because success leaves clues. I have friends of mine that are billionaires, and I'm around them because proximity is power, and I observe what they do on an ongoing basis during the waking hours of their day. And here's the key thing, is how you change your life is how you change the waking hours of your day. And so what are you doing hour by hour? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Who are you interacting with? What are you learning? What are you doing? And that's the key thing when you study high-level achieving men and women. They do things a little bit differently than the average person does, but compounded over time, the results are much greater.
So you're saying that if we do those action and wake up like this and really focus on doing that, then our doubts, our low self-esteem, belief will just melt away.
Well, you'll still have fear, because the definition of fear is anticipation of pain. And if we look at it as fear, past, present, or future, it's actually future. It lives in our mind. Worry is just a negative thinking about future possibilities. That's what worry is. It's negative thinking about future possibilities. You're still going to have that creep into your mind, just like in a garden you have weeds that grow, and you've got to tend to the garden and get rid of the weeds. Just like in a company, you're going to have toxic or negative people that come in, or a negative client or customer from time to time, but you've got to manage that. Just like you've got to manage your mindset on a consistent basis. Olympic athletes or high-level achieving athletes still, from time to time, will still have fear and doubt and worry. If you watch them on television before they go run the race or jump in the pool or jump off the diving board, you see them going through the mental rehearsing of that. Same thing with professional hockey players or footballers, soccer players. They still have that fear, doubt, or worry, but they get their mind and their body into a state of focus and concentration. Another big thing is your environment. Who you hang out with on a consistent basis. Now, If you're a parent or legal guardian, you have children, you're very protective of your children about who they hang out with after school, in the evenings and on the weekend and during summer holidays. But as adults, are you consciously aware of who you're spending time with in your proximity on an ongoing, consistent basis? And most adults are not aware of that consciously. Mm-hmm. They just hang out with anybody. You know, somebody from the church, somebody from the Rotary Club, somebody from the Lions Club, somebody from the Parent Teachers Association, somebody in their neighborhood. They're not aware of who they're spending time with. But the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with on a consistent basis is who you become. Mm-hmm. Compounded over time, and we're not aware of that for the most part, but it's very important your environment and your influence of other people that you spend time with. It's very, very important. So here's the key thing, if you want to become more successful, spend more time with people that you respect and admire, not people you always have an influence on.
That makes sense. Yeah. So would you have some last little tips, because we're running unfortunately out of time, but would you have some last little things or practices that we could share here?
Absolutely. One of the key things is that I do is and you've heard this many, many times by a lot of people, is have a vision board.
Yeah.
You can also have a vision wall. I have a wall that has all different kinds of things that I want to achieve in my life on a regular, consistent basis. You know, in areas of health, finances, spirituality, career, business, travel, humanitarian, philanthropy, all that kind of stuff. You want to see visual pictures, and you want to create an environment in your home or in your office or in your automobile that feels successful. Uh-huh. And you want to do that on a regular, consistent basis. And you want to get around places. You know, if you want to stay in nice hotels, go have lunch. Go walk through hotels. I on a regular basis, will see a restaurant that maybe I cannot financially afford at the time. I'll actually walk in there and just use the restroom, or go have a glass of water or a cup of tea. Uh-huh. Because I can't afford the meal, but I go in there to have the experience.
Uh-huh. And you stick a yes I can little sticker, because we see that behind your head you have a little
yes.
Yes I can, the yes I can attitude. So last little word I have a hard time to say that word I can't with my French accent say word. Would you have a last little word for us?
Absolutely. A key principle, if you want to increase your productivity and production in your life and just fast track things, is what I call a 10-10 principle. I learned this from a friend of mine who's a billionaire. And what he does is he writes down in a journal or a diary on paper 10 of his highest priorities that he'll either do himself or herself, or can delegate by 10 a.m. the next morning. So 10 highest priorities that you'll do or delegate to an assistant or a virtual assistant or somebody else before 10 a.m. the following morning. You'll find within 7 days, you'll see your productivity increase specifically and measurably.
Thank you. And I guess if we want coaching, we can contact you through the website, that is.
Absolutely. I coach people all over the world and would love to contribute to more people's lives and make a difference.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you very much for taking the time to teach us those principles.
Thank you. In the waking hours of your day. The key thing is change the waking hours of your day. So from the time you wake up in the morning until the time you go to bed at night, what do you consistently do? Now, for most people, they're an extra in their own movie, and most people are unconscious. So the key thing is to be aware of, when you first wake up in the morning, what do? Do you listen to an alarm clock? Do you go onto the internet and check your email? Do you get your kids off to school? Do you make your lunch? Do you go off to work? Say it out loud in the shower. Every day is different, but I have a routine, but how I do that routine is different because I travel a lot. Uh-huh. So
what you're saying is that it's very important when we wake up to take those actions right away and not wait. The sooner
Absolutely.
We can do it, the better.
And the reason why is because our brain has 2 primary functions in life, protection and survival. Our brain's job is to protect us and keep us safe.
Precisely what we can do to manifest those, and we're going to talk a bit about the law of attraction. So tell us about it all. How does this work?
For sure, I want to teach your listeners around the world today specific and measurable action steps. The first thing to do is, a lot of people want to change their life. You hear that a lot in workshops and seminars, that people say, I want to change my life. How you change your life is by changing the waking hours of your day. Change your work. What are the action steps you do? You jump in the shower? Do you do your hair? Do you do makeup? Do you shave? And then what are you surrounded by? Do you read? Do you meditate? Do you pray? Do you do yoga? So I'm going to give you some specific action steps that I do and how it's coined the Mega Manifesto. The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I do an exercise called the attitude of gratitude. and I come up with a list either in my head or in my journal on paper.
Hello, Darren Jacklin. How are you?
I am fantastic. Good to see you today.
It's good to have the mega manifester in front of me. and discuss today how we can manifest and attract our dreams. You have some practices and some actions that we can take in our own life. You're mainly a corporate coach, but today you're going to really tell us precisely